Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Todd Talk podcast. I am Todd Marshall Hernsberger. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Lead Well Solutions. And on this podcast, we talk about all things leadership, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so we're so thankful that you joined us today. And today I have a very special guest with me. His name is Bob Fabien Zinga. Bob is a trusted cybersecurity executive, servant leader, and boardroom strategist who leads at the intersection of leadership, technology, and business. He has spent more than 26 years helping secure mission-driven organizations across education, defense, government, startups, and enterprise, while also serving as a senior information warfare officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve. Welcome, Bob, to the podcast. I'm glad you're on here today.
Thank you so much, Todd. I'm privileged to be here. Thank you.
So I know I gave a 30,000 foot level of all that you do, and there's so much more that you share. Tell us a little bit more about your involvement in the cybersecurity world and how it intersects with leadership and technology. Kind of share us
Mhm.
a little bit more information about that.
Like you said, my name is Bob Fabien Zinga. I go by Busy. That's my Navy call sign. Pretty much every sailor gets one this day.
And thank you for
I,
serving in the military, by the way.
Thank you. And I kind of like Busy because in the Navy it also stands for Bravo Zulu. So when you do something great, excellent, Bravo Zulu. So
Oh,
I
good.
remember the
Love it.
last promotion I get, a big one, I became a commander. It was busy to busy. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, like you say, I am a cybersecurity executive, a board advisor, executive coach, information warfare commander, also a adjunct professor as well, California Science Technology University. So for more than 2 decades now, I've had the privilege of leading really incredible teams across the military, higher education, Silicon Valley, consulting, and government, right? Helping organizations manage cyber risk, strengthen resilience, and enable their mission. So while my career has really centered on cybersecurity, I've come to believe that cybersecurity is really fundamentally a leadership challenge, right? Technology is important, but people, trust, culture, and sound decision making are what ultimately, I believe, determine whether an organization succeeds or fail. So I am also passionate about developing leaders. I am a certified John Maxwell certified coach and speaker. And for my leadership and success podcast, I've also had the opportunity to interview hundreds of world-class leaders from CEO to four-star military commanders and best-selling authors and entrepreneurs alike. Really, my one goal is to really help others grow into the leaders they were created to become. So whether I'm serving alongside sailors or advising a board of director or mentoring the next generation of security leader, I really try to live by one simple philosophy, right? Mission first, people always. I had the great opportunity and privilege and honor to be a commanding officer in the mighty U.S. Navy. It's less than 4%, less than 2% of us end up being a commanding officer in the Navy. It's really the apex of your career where you are in charge of not just the people, but the mission of the organization. But I've learned that when leaders invest in people, when they build trust and they lead with character, with extraordinary result will follow. So we are ordinary people. We take care of each other and extraordinary result follow. So I am excited to join you today to talk about leadership or technology. Everybody's talking about AI this day, resilience, and how leaders can really thrive in a world that is changing faster than it's ever changed before.
We have the same passions of making sure that leaders are healthy in their behaviors and their actions and
Yes.
their attitude. The reason I've become passionate personally about focusing on the subject of healthy leadership when it comes to behaviors and actions is because I
Mhm.
have worked for leaders in the past who were not healthy in their actions. They were even toxic, where people didn't want to serve them. They didn't want to work for them. They just dreaded going to work every day. There's those types of leaders. And of course, there's a spectrum of leadership health that I call it. You have the extreme side over here, which is very unhealthy leadership, what I call
Mhm.
toxic leadership. And you got the other side, which is very healthy, great, wonderful leaders. And a majority of the leaders that I have served under have been
Yes.
great leaders. So I want to make sure I stress that majority I've worked under have been fabulous leaders. I have learned so much, and they truly were authentic, great leaders. But you had
Hmm.
the few bad eggs that were unhealthy, that were toxic. You have kind of the middle of the road spectrum of
Yes.
leaders that they're unhealthy to a certain degree. I would not say they have to be out of leadership. Whereas the toxic leaders, for toxic leaders, I believe they should not be in leadership at all, my
Hmm.
personal opinion. But however, how do you see that spectrum from your experience of working with leaders of the good, the bad, the ugly of leadership?
Well, the truth is, I think anybody in the military will tell you leaders are made, they are not born, right? When I first joined the Navy 21 years ago, even no, I was an E1, seaman recruit, the lowest rank in the military, junior enlisted. Even at that rank, where you don't have a lot of responsibility and the Navy doesn't really trust you with much, but even then, the Navy is really forging you into a leader. What it starts on the day you show up at boot camp and all the way throughout your entire career. When I became an officer, my primary mentor told me, right, what location is to real estate, leadership is to the Navy officer corps. And I felt like he was absolutely right. What I believe is everybody has the potential to become a leader. Everybody is born, but to be a leader, you really have to be formed, right? You have to be trained. You have to go through the crucible. And I think the good news is leadership is a learnable skill. Anybody can learn to become a better leader. Now, it is true about some people that they have like this innate ability or talent, they tend to lead, but it doesn't mean that they also lead well, because you can be a leader, you can be a toxic leader as well, right? What
That's
not
right.
to be,
And
right?
Hitler's a
And
great example of that. Hitler was a leader, but he was definitely
yes,
toxic.
exactly. So, and then also as you learn to become a leader, which to me really the simplest definition is what John Maxwell, who was my primary mentor, the man who certified me,
Yes,
Dr.
mine
John C.
too.
Maxwell.
I
Yeah.
got his book here as well. So I'm
Yeah, that one is
Maxwell fan.
brand new, actually, great book. But it's really about influence. That's why it's not about your title. It's not about your position. It's not even about how many people you lead or you oversee, because at this basic level, I think leadership is being able to influence one person, and that person is you. No, you talked about healthy leadership, doing the right thing, being aligned with your core values. And I think that's very, very important at the personal level. And as you go and as you get more and more responsibility and more authority within your organization, the hope is that you are going to treat people right, right? In the Navy, we say mission first because we do have a mission to accomplish, right? But we say people always. We cannot accomplish that mission without the people. So you take care of the people, and the people will take care of the mission. So that's really what I believe. I think for the majority of people, we kind of in the middle. And I think for some of us, we are really, really bad on the end of the spectrum. But I think everybody can really learn to become a better leader with time and training. It's definitely a leadership trait. It's a characteristic that people can definitely learn and build. The reason why I know that is because that's what we do in the US Navy every single day. We build leaders.
Yeah, leadership, as you said, is not a title or position. It's an attitude. It's a way of doing life. And there are
Yes.
people who without any leadership title, but people want to follow them. People want to be
Yes.
around them. That
Totally.
leader without a title says, "Hey, come follow me," and they say, "Okay,
Mhm.
let's go." So there can be
Yes.
that, and I agree with you 100% that leaders are not born, they are developed. And I am
Mhm.
product of that. I was a very shy, extremely introvert of a child. Both parents were introverts as well. I got it honestly through DNA. But however, I had to learn to develop myself to be in leaders because at the age of 19 is whenever I was placed in positions to lead teams. And I didn't
Wow.
know what I was doing at 19, but I was given the opportunity. And let me tell you something, I learned very fast on how to lead teams and how to be a leader. And it has
Yes.
been taking decades for
Wow.
me to become the leader that I am today. And to me, leadership, you're always learning, you're always
Mhm.
developing, and you will never ever reach the pinnacle of saying, I've arrived.
That's
You
right.
will be a learning leader till the day you die. Do you agree with that?
Amen to that. That is really the essence of leadership. I think you have to be humble. you've got to know your limit and you have to be curious and you've got to want to learn. I always kind of say many times, like my grandparents, probably true for yours too. Back then, all they need to have is a high school degree, and they never had to open another book in their life. My parents probably bachelor is usually where they kind of stopped learning. I mean, once they get their degree, they start working. They didn't really have to open another book. But today, it's just impossible. We live in the age of artificial intelligence. We are going to have to keep up with the technology, and the world is moving fastest than it's ever moved before. So basically, I am going to be a student for the rest of my life. That's
Yep.
just set in
Yep.
stone. And that's the attitude every leader needs to have.
Yep.
Leaders are learners. The world is going to change, and you kind of
Students,
have to
students
keep
of
up.
leadership for life. It's a
Yes.
great way to put that. So you've built a career with the multiple intersections of cybersecurity,
Mhm.
leadership, and also military service.
Yes.
What pulled you into all that world?
That's a good question. Actually, originally, when I came to this country, I was 17 years old. My initial dream was to become a medical doctor. So I was a pre-med student at the University of Alabama. I did biology and chemistry. As I think I was a junior, I was in the medical clinic on campus there, the pre-med honor society. So what they did is they would allow a student to shadow brand new doctor. They just came out of the medical school and then they were seeing their first patient. So we would follow them around, kind of see what it's like to be a doctor, and all, just to make sure that's really what we wanted to do. But one thing that really shocked me is many of the doctors I was shadowing, they had like a little black book, which would have all of the symptom and medicine and all of that. So they would go up front and talk to the patients. And then many of them would go in the back room and I would see them open the book and kind of see which medicine they should subscribe. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. That's not the type of doctor I want to be. This was about, I think, 1998, 99. At the time, there was more than 100,000 people in this country in America that died because of doctor's mistake. And I was like, no, that's not what I want to become. So then I said, okay, instead of just getting an MD, I want to get I'll go for the PhD MD program. They had a special program, very, very rigorous at the University of Alabama and Birmingham, where you don't just got your MD, but you also did a bunch of biomedical research and you add a PhD on top of that. The program was way, way too rigorous. They didn't accept me even though I had an A average at the time. So I decided to just go for my PhD first. So I went from my Bachelor of Science to the PhD. I skipped the master. My idea at the time was I get the PhD and then I go back to medical school and get the MD. Well, life happens. I got married. I had a child on the way, and I couldn't find a full-time job in my field, whether chemistry, biology, or biomedical sciences in Tuscaloosa. So I ended up doing technology. So my first job, I was a technology assistant tech. Like they say, the rest is history. From that, I got into cyber security. And then after 9/11, I joined the US Navy about 22 years ago. And yeah, like they say, the rest is history. So I really didn't plan to become a cybersecurity executive. But I think one thing that helped me get here is I really love solving difficult problem and serving people. Eventually ended up here.
On your profile, you describe yourself as a trusted cybersecurity executive and a boardroom strategist. What does effective boardroom strategy look like in a world shaped by all the risk that comes with cybersecurity?
Well, I think for those who are on the board, and I have served on several, they really need to focus on their critical mission objective, right? And then how does the technology or secure technology help you get there? Because board should not be spending the time discussing firewall and antivirus software. That is not why you have a board. They should be discussing business resilience. A modern board should ask, what could stop us from accomplishing our mission? How quickly could we recover from a cybersecurity incident? What risk are we intentionally accepting? And are we investing appropriately for the threats we face? Depending on the size, the industry, and all of that. Because cybersecurity today, I think, belongs beside finance, legal, operation, and enterprise risk management, right? My role isn't to scare the director, right? We don't use FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Oh, the sky is falling, it's the end of the world. That's not going to help anyone. But my role is to really help the board and senior executive in the company make informed business decision, right? The best CISO, I think, they don't speak cybersecurity, they speak business. And that's part of the reason why I decided to earn a Master of Business Administration back in 2017, almost 10 years ago. Because I think as a cybersecurity or a tech executive, your job is not just technology, but it is really business. And when you use technology as a tool, as a means to be able to execute on the business objective and strategy of your organization.
Let's talk AI for a second. You mentioned that earlier, and I have interviewed several podcast guests recently that
Mhm.
deal with the intersection of leadership and AI. We both know the world is changing dramatically. When
Yes.
internet came out back in the 90s or became more
Hmm.
popular in the public sector for the internet, we thought the world was changing then. But we
Yes.
have no idea how fast the world is changing now that AI is here with us. How do you see the intersection of leadership and AI? Do you see them butting heads with each other, or do you see them complementing each other?
In a sense, AI is technology, so it really enhances the organization of the individual. I think one mistake a lot of organizations have done now with the evolution of AI is they have like that FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. They want to jump on the bandwagon just because their competitor are. And like just I don't know if you've heard that there is a company that spent more than $500 million on AI the first quarter of the year, like the entire budget for the year spent. And then they really don't have anything to show for it. So I think as an organization, you have to again go back to the board. It's mission critical objective for the organization. What are we here for? And then you're gonna use AI in order to implement that and do it quicker, to do it safer, and to do it more efficiently. Right. So you always have to think, if I think about business outcome, business result first and foremost. So that's why I think even when it comes to AI, it's not really a technology issue. In my mind, it's really a leadership challenge. It is really a business challenge, right?
Mhm.
What do we do as a company? What do we accomplish? And now, how can AI, just like any other technology, help us get there fast, securely, and efficiently? For example, when it comes to cybersecurity specifically, I believe that trust has become the world's most valuable business asset. Trust. Can your employee trust you, the leadership? Can your customer trust you? Can your partner trust you? Right? Technology can scale product and AI can scale intelligence for sure, but only trust will scale relationship. And organization earn trust through three primary things in my mind: competence, consistency, and character. Right? We go back to those core value. AI doesn't replace those, and the AI cannot replace those. It actually makes them even more important, I believe. So as technology accelerates, I think character becomes even more of a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I agree. The AI experts that I interviewed on my podcast, both of them had the same philosophy is the AI is definitely a technology tool, but we should not use AI without the human touch involved in the process.
Yes, human
Because
oversight,
we may
absolutely.
use that AI to help with some decision-making processes, but the
Mhm.
more complex the problem is that you're using AI to solve a complex business problem, the more human interaction it needs to have. In other words, just don't rely on AI to be the end all to making business decisions on a
Yes.
complex problem. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, especially in the military, right? Because it's a matter of life and death. Yes, AI is going to help you because no, sometimes you have to go through even millions of data set in order to come up with the right decision. With me as the information warfare officer, I would provide the input to the commander in charge so that they can make a decision for our mission. But ultimately, though, I think you definitely need human touch. For example, if you let AI make up all of the decision and then push the button, what might happen is you might accidentally kill a bunch of schoolgirls in a school when you thought it was like a navy or a army base, right? So you absolutely is very, very, very critical to have human oversight. AI can help you come to the decision and help you do all of the analysis. Machine will do it so much faster than any human being would. But when it comes to hitting the button and going green that has to be done by a human being, especially in areas in society where it's a matter of life and death.
I want to back up just a little bit because you talked about trust earlier. You talked about competencies, character,
Yeah.
trust, other attributes of
Hmm.
leadership. Doesn't so we're kind of getting back off of
Consistency too. Yes.
cybersecurity and technology. I want to go
Hmm.
back into this world a little bit for a hot second because I wrote my first book called The Dysfunctional Leader, and it mentions all the unhealthy traits and behaviors that leaders can have. And then my
Yes.
current book that I'm almost finished with focuses on what I call the functional leader or the healthy
Mm.
leader side. And basically, it's like a leadership 101 type of a book, even though there's
Hmm.
probably thousands of leadership 101 types of books. But I hit really hard the subject of what makes a great leader. Because I notice a lot of people get into leadership positions, they're promoted or they're given leadership roles, but they really
Hmm.
don't know what a true leader is. They just think it's just
Yes.
telling people what to do. And they miss the 101 foundational principles of trust, like you said,
Yes.
character, integrity,
Hmm.
effective communication, how
Yes.
to deal with conflict, how to deal with risk. Those are
Hmm.
foundational and elementary. And I feel like many leaders miss that aspect. They've never learned those foundational principles. What do you
Yes.
see in the leadership role with leaders knowing foundational principles of what a leader is and how they should act and behave?
So again, the good news here is leadership is a learnable skill. So you can learn to become a great leader. Anybody can learn that, right? So when it comes to making great leader, I think I really love that because I've spent more than 20 years thinking about it, right? Leading sailors in the US Navy, having to make life and death decision or being in position where somebody could die. I've worked in Silicon Valley as well, but here, when we talk about cybersecurity, the only thing you're really concerned about is maybe losing money or a business or something. So it's not really the same thing, right? The stakes are extremely high. So when I work with the executive teams here in Silicon Valley, yeah, especially in the startup world, it is pretty important too because that's kind of where the company is either going to make it or the company is going to fall. This usually within the 4 or 5 years. So it's important to make the right decision early on. And then I've also coached leaders across industry. So to me, great leadership is, like I said earlier, it's not really about your position or your title, right? Or power or having all of the answer, right? That's why I think humility is very, very important. If you are going to lead, you need to develop emotional intelligence. You have to be vulnerable, right? People need to be able to relate to you because if you feel like, oh, I know everything and I am the all be all, no, you are lying to yourself and the people you lead are going to know that. But I think it's about influence. And that's why I really love, that's the primary definition in this book, right? 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Leadership is influence. Dr. Maxwell says nothing more and nothing less. I really love that definition because it means you don't have to have a title. You don't have to have a position. Anybody can lead. A mother can lead. A teacher can lead. A father can lead. A colleague can lead. You are right. Even sometimes when I start work at a new company, of course, you do need to respect and acknowledge people who have a big title and so forth. But usually, those are not the people who actually make the decision in their function. You have to look for that one person, may not have a title, but everybody goes to them. And that's really the person who influences the decision in that organization. Those champions are the people you really need to seek out because those are the true leaders. They don't have a title, again, they don't have a position, they don't have a corner office, but they are the one in the company. And everybody knows who they are. They always like to be validated by them because they really carry the culture of the organization. Really, at its essence, that is really, I believe, what true leadership is. So a great leader will create clarity when there is uncertainty, and they make decision when the path isn't obvious. I remember what Colin Powell, one of my greatest mentors, taught us, right? P4570. He says, as a leader, you need to be able to make a decision as soon as you have about 45% of the information you need to make a decision. Don't wait until you are at 100%, because if you wait until you are 100%, you're never going to make a decision and it's going to be too late. But about 45 to 70, that's good enough. Make a decision. And then if the decision you make is not the right decision, that's fine. Be humble and then change, right? Be agile. Based on the output and what you are monitoring, then make some changes. And that's how you go, because you cannot go through paralysis by analysis. Just keep to get more and more and more information, and you end up doing absolutely nothing, right? It's better for you to get started. And then again, if you don't make the right decision, be willing to pivot and to change. And again, it takes some humility to know that you don't have all of the answers and you don't always make the best decision at first. So you kind of build trust by being competent, by being consistent, and demonstrating character. Back to the three C's: competence, consistency, and character. I would maybe add connection to that too, building a rapport with your people, where you really value them as human being, not just as an instrument in the cog, not just like a working horse or something, but really a human being. They have feelings, they have family, and they have a life outside of work as well. I think when your people feel like you really, really, truly value them, I think they are going to do so much more for you. Reminds me of another thing General Powell taught us is, with management in principle, right, you could get people to work up to 100% of their potential. Almost nobody does, but the science of management, in theory, you could get there. The last report I read from Harvard Business Review, they said most people only work about 35% of their true potential. But with management, again, you could get them to 100%. But what leadership does and how different it is from management, you can get people to go 110% above and beyond. That's why in the military, you could be, in a time of war, in a combat zone, and the person to your right and to your left is going to be willing to take a bullet for you. Go above and beyond. That is leadership, right? Money cannot buy that. Now, people in the military, they usually make a lot less than people in the industry, but they are willing to do that because they are working for a mission that is above and beyond themselves. They're doing it for the love of God and country. And again, it's not something you can just bribe people, give them more money to give you more output. That's just not going to work. So I think maybe perhaps the most important thing is that leaders, they really help other people become more successful than they could have been on their own. As a leader, really, my job has been to remove obstacle so that my people can accomplish the mission. Now, whatever they need, maybe they need more training, maybe they need more resources, but whatever it is, I want to give it to them. Whatever obstacle that's in their way, I want to remove it and allow them, enable them, empower them to do their work. Another thing is that took me a long time to learn as a new leader was delegation. Because for most people, maybe that was your case too. They promote you to a leadership position because you are one of the very, very best to do what you do as an individual contributor. Now your company think, okay, maybe you can replicate yourself and help other people in the company do it. But the problem is other people don't do it as good as you do. And you kind of feel like, well, if it's going to get done, I have to do it myself. But the problem with that is if you keep doing it yourself, nobody else is going to learn how to do it. So you have to allow your people to learn by making mistakes the same way you learn. And then you teach them and you coach them until they are able to meet or exceed the standard of the organization. That's how you make your company, your organization more resilient. So to finish here, I think one of the leadership principle I've lived throughout my entire career, my leadership mantra is mission first, people always. Some people hear that and they think that it's a trade-off, but I think it's actually the opposite of that. Yeah, you accomplish the mission by investing in your people. When people know that they are valued, challenged, developed, and trusted, they will accomplish extraordinary things.
I'm loving everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm actually on the inside jumping up and down because everything you say is my philosophy and as well. I know I brought you on to ask you some cybersecurity and leadership questions, but I want to stay in this vein for a little bit longer because you're giving
Yes.
us so much meat and potatoes with the subject of just leadership in general. I have found in my studies of leadership that there are different models of leadership. There's transactional leaders, they're very transactional. There's charismatic leaders, there's transformational leaders, and there's a
Yeah.
whole other slew of leadership models that are out there. But the one that for me stands out in what you've been describing, if we can put a title to it, is what I
Mhm.
call servant leadership.
Yes.
I like to illustrate it like a triangle. Within the general leadership role, the leader's at the top and everybody's underneath at the bottom. However, in a servant leadership, it's kind of an upside down situation. The fact the
Mhm.
leader is at the bottom down here, the
Yes.
team is above them, not in authority, but the leader serves their team to
Yes.
help them become better at what they do. They
Absolutely.
coach them, they mentor them, they remove
Mhm.
obstacles,
Yes.
they make them a better person, not only on the job, but even on the home front, in
That's
the
right.
in the personal world. That is my philosophy. I love to
Yes.
help people be better, do better, think better,
I
behave
love it.
better. Now,
Yes.
of course, I focus my attention on the leadership part, but I
Mhm.
focus on the person as a whole. How do you see that philosophy of leadership, of servant leadership, versus being a transactional leader to where everything is just a transaction for them?
Yes, I think servant leadership is definitely the way to go. I think, I mean, it is pretty much well known here. Our president has made it very well known. Is extremely transactional, which is fine for some people, but I don't really think that is the right way to go because you really have to develop a relationship with people and really care about them. And you need to be able to serve them. My primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, this is what he taught me. Three things. One, I have great values. You have to have good core values. For example, in the Navy, our core values, you wake up a sailor at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sailor, what are your core values? Honor, courage, commitment. We know it. And for most organizations today, I think they put a bunch of values and flyers on the wall, but they don't live out those values. It doesn't mean anything, right? Because what they say they value and what they actually do is completely opposite. You have to be aligned. What are your core values? What is really important to you? What are you willing in the military to even, no, if you have to give up your life for? What do you value? What is really important to you? That's really where the rubber meets the road. Who are you at your core and what do you value? This way, no matter what's happening out there in the world, because in the world, no, things are going to trend up and down, things are going to change. At one point, everywhere in America, it was about DEI, diversity, and love and all that. And now it's like, no, DEI is about the world. We don't care about it. It's more about transaction or whatever it might be. So as a leader, you have to have enough integrity that you stay the same, you stay consistent. That's how people get to trust you. Without that, nobody's going to trust you because they don't trust anything you say, right? Whatever you say today, tomorrow you say the complete opposite. Again, that's happening a lot with our political leadership today, and it's very, very confusing. We need to know exactly where you stand because even if your standards are very high and mine are usually very, very high. When people know that you are consistent, you are fair, you are a person of integrity, you will do exactly what you say. It's not like when your people meet the bar and then it's okay, you take it higher and then higher. No, 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 no. You are consistent. It doesn't matter if we have a relationship, if you are my wife or my child or my best friend, I treat everybody exactly the same. These are the standards. And I too have to abide by those standards, right? Kind of like when you raise children, I have two daughters. I remember growing up, what my kids taught me is I cannot just tell them do as I do, not do as I say, but not as I do. My kids will always do as I do. And I think in the workforce, it's the same thing. People will do what you do, not what you say. So I think that is extremely important. So when it comes to servant leadership, I think ultimately, for those who are believers, Jesus is the ultimate servant leader. But one of the best definitions of servant leadership I've ever read is in this book, Gate of Fires by Stephen Pressfield. I usually don't read nonfiction. I love to read books that are actually going to help me, that are practical. But this book is an exception. I think they have one of the very best definition of servant leadership I have ever heard. It's one small paragraph on page 412, if I can read it
Yeah,
for you really
sure.
quick. I'm going to end you.
Yes, please do.
Here is how this man describes his king, his leader. He says, I will tell his majesty what a king is. A king does not abide within his tent while his men bleed and die upon the field. A king does not dine while his men go hungry, nor sleep when they stand at watch upon the wall. A king does not command his men's loyalty through fear, nor purchase it with gold. He earns their love by the sweat of his own back and the pain he endures for their sake. That which comprises the harshest burden, a king lifts first and sets down last. A king does not require service of those he leads, but provides it to them. He serves them, not they him. That is servant leadership. The pyramid upside down. The king at the bottom and his subject at the top.
Yes.
Number one, I have great value. Number two, I value people. I value the people I've been privileged to serve and lead. And then number three, I want to add value to them. That's leadership.
You're talking my love language. I created an assessment where some leaders think they're great. Some things they are so good that they're all that in a bag of chips. They're very maybe overconfident. Hey, everybody loves me as a leader.
That's
But
why you
I've
need
heard,
humility.
yeah, I've heard behind the scenes of working for some of these leaders that they're not as great as what they think they are. Because I
Correct.
hear the rumblings of the people that serving underneath them. And matter of fact, some of them don't like them at all. And so one of my thoughts is if we can ever take a leader out of their role or their position, would
Mm-hmm.
people still want to follow them if they were
Yeah.
not made to follow them?
Yes.
And that
So
really
true.
will say a whole lot of whether
Mm.
if they're a true leader or not, whether influential enough to where
Yes.
people will want to follow them, even if they don't hold that title.
Mm-hmm.
And so I created an assessment that basically allows the employees or team members to evaluate in a confidential way their leader
Yes.
and
I
allow
love that.
their leaders to say, hey, I may not be as well liked as what I think, and it's an eye opener. So that is something that I really have been hitting hard is if someone is not serving in a leadership role, do people still want to
Mm.
follow them?
I really love that. I was looking for another one of my book, but it's called The Five Levels of Leadership, again by Dr. Maxwell.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that
Love
because
that book.
level one is positional leadership. That's the lowest level. People are going to do what you say because of your title. I am your boss. You do as I say, or I'm going to fire you, right? Yeah, people will follow you. People will do what you say. But I must tell you, the first opportunity they get to be under a different leader or get to another company, they will definitely do that. That's why people say most people they leave jobs not because of their work, but because of their boss,
Absolutely.
right? So positional leadership is only going to take you so far. What you want is to develop into a five level leader where you develop other leaders, where people want to follow you because they want to, not because they have to, but because they want to. And usually in the military, that's what ends up happening, where people go above and beyond because they want to. They are motivated to accomplish the mission, to go above and beyond. Not because you're going to pay them because you don't pay them enough anyway, but it's because they believe in the mission and they believe in the leader. So that is really, 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 really big. And another thing Dr. John Maxwell talks about also is the 360-degree leader, where you get feedback not only from your boss, which is what usually happens when you have an annual performing assessment or whatever, but also from your peers, but also for the people who report to you. So you get a full view of how you look, what your boss thinks about you, what your peers thinks about you, and what the people who report to you think about you. That gives you a more complete view of who you are and how you show up as a leader. So I definitely
Yeah,
agree
I
with
actually
that.
called my assessment the 360 leader assessment. And that is
Yes.
exactly. And what happens is the leader answers 30 questions, and
Hmm.
it's 30 questions of with the responses of never, somewhat,
Hmm.
most of the time, all the time, those types of Likert scale answers. And the
Yes.
same 30 questions are answered by their subordinates, their team, their employees, but it's
Hmm.
rewritten based to evaluate their leader in a confidential way. And
Yes.
it really creates a great analysis of what the team really thinks. And it gives that leader a full 360 degrees
Hmm.
of how confident they are in themselves and how confident their team are in them as
Yes.
well. So, for those of you who want to know more about my 360 leader assessment that I created, you can reach out to me. It's free of charge. I give it to
Wow.
you as a free resource. But I love the fact that as a leader, if I'm not well liked and if I'm not loved, I want to know about it. If
Yes.
I'm not leading well, I want to know about it because I can't change anything that I don't know about. I can't change what I don't know and fix what I
Yes.
don't know. And so I
So true.
believe it's very important that we as
So
leaders
true.
have you what you called earlier have emotional intelligence. Are we able to sense what other people are feeling when we're in the room? Good, bad, or ugly? Do we have the
Yes.
ability, the self-awareness
That's
to
key.
realize what people feel about us as leaders?
Yes. No, I love that because to me, emotional intelligence is starts with self-awareness first, but then also the awareness of others,
Mhm.
right? The way you speak, the tone you use, really caring about each person individually and really forming that connection. Yeah, like I said, you still have a mission to accomplish, but how do you go about doing that? Empowering your people so that they can get the job done.
Love it
Absolutely.
and all truthful. And we're at the end of our podcast. Thank you for being a part of this
Thank you.
program today. But I know people will want to know, how can I get a hold of you? Maybe they want to know more about you, maybe keynote speaking, whatever. How can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Yes, best way is my LinkedIn page, right? LinkedIn.com in Bob Fabien Zinga. And I have my own personal website too, bobfabienzinga.com. So first name, middle name, last name.com.
Thank you for being here. Thank you again, serving our country. I have great respect for those in the military and the police
Thank
and
you.
fire, EMS, everyone who are first responders. But thank you. It's been an
Thank you
honor
so
to
much,
have
Todd. I
you today.
appreciate it.
So, for those of you who want to know more about me and my services that I offer, you just simply go to my website, which is leadwellsolutions.us. Again, that's leadwellsolutions.us. And I deal with coaching, leadership training development, strategy building, mentoring, all the above, operations. There's just a whole bunch that I do. You can also purchase my book on there called The Dysfunctional Leader. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And as I always end all my podcasts, go out there and lead well.